A lot of people, they jump into journaling and then they stare at the blank page and then they're like, what do I do? And then the journal gets pushed to the side, and then you go to Target and you find another journal and you're like, oh, I like that journal, maybe I'll get back into it again. And then you come home and that journal sits as well, and then you also find the original journal that you said you were going to journal in, right? I'm guilty of that. So it's been about 2 weeks since we had our last journal club session and we finally got back to it today. So I'm super excited to just kind of get into the prompts that we went over, some insights that came up, and let's get to it. So every mindful journal club session, we always start with an opening prompt to let peeps get in, get settled, just kind of take some time to kind of decompress and release what they're feeling at that very moment onto paper. So our opening prompt this time was, how are you feeling at this moment? And to describe your current emotions and thoughts without judgment. That's the biggest piece, is that we often are, we feel so many different emotions, so many different thoughts rush through our heads all the time, and we often attach those to judgments or even just reasons of like why I'm feeling this way, or I shouldn't be feeling this way, or I should be grateful because of XYZ. But the reality is that we're human, and we're going to feel things, we're going to think things, and they may not always be the best thoughts, or they may not always be the best feelings. And so I like to give peeps the space to just kind of be where they are without judgment, even from themselves. And so our opening prompt was, how are you feeling at this moment? And to just describe that without judgment. So picking up my journal, my response to it, it's been a while since I have journaled, just because it's been so busy, right? So opening prompt, I started off with bullet points. A lot of people, they jump into journaling and then they stare at the blank page and then they're like, what do I do? And then the journal gets pushed to the side, and then you go to Target and you find another journal and you're like, oh, I like that journal, maybe I'll get back into it again. And then you come home and that journal sits as well, and then you also find the original journal that you said you were going to journal in, right? I'm guilty of that. So often it can feel intimidating when you want to start something like journaling and you're just staring at an empty page or a blank page, which is why I created, the story prompt story cards, and or the journal prompt story cards. And it's why I like to do these sessions, because we can put a prompt on the screen and we don't have to be intimidated by the blank page. So one of the ways that I just kind of jumped into this, even after not journaling for a couple of weeks, honestly, was just bullet pointing. So the opening prompt, how are you feeling at this moment? Bullet points, calm and steady, a little fuzzy, still trying to get clear or trying to recover from coming off of a ton of work, a ton of tasks, and a big event. And then my last bullet point was that I haven't quite settled into the calm after the storm. So we often talk about the calm before the storm, and you never really give thought to the calm after the storm, right? So when you have done a ton of things and then there's nothing and you're just sitting there and you're like, am I supposed to be just sitting here? I feel like I should be working on something, and you're not quite sure. And so that's where I am right now. I haven't quite settled into the calm after the storm, where you're getting back into the swing of things after doing so much, right? So that's where I am. I left it at that. I let others respond, and then we kind of shifted into the intention setting segment of our session. I always start my journaling sessions, or our journaling sessions, with intention setting. I want people to really understand why they have showed up today. And again, it's not what are they hoping to get out of the session from me as the host or from anyone else who may decide to share, but it's really, what is it that you want to get out of this session for you. So we set our intentions. My intention was simply to just get back into the swing of things, get back to journaling, and just to be present just to be there and not feel like I have to be anywhere else mentally, physically, etc. And then we shifted into our mindful practice. So this is the Mindful Journaling Club, and I think it's really important that we incorporate mindful practices into our journaling. So this week's practice was mindful observation, and we simply chose an object in our room wherever we were. I chose this guy here, this vase, and we wrote about it. We took in everything about that object that we could see, whether it was the color, the texture, the smell of it, depending on the object you chose, or even how the light hits it, right? Everything that we could notice about this object, we took it in and we journaled about it. And so I chose this guy here, and some of the things that just came to mind, or things that I wrote down, were that of course it's brown, it's wide, but also narrow. I didn't describe how it's like breaking in half, but that's a thing. I also described this scene here. So this is either cha or coffee from like years ago. And I remembered, it was a memory moment for me. I remembered that I told myself I was going to clean this up, and it never happened. Again, I've had this vase for years. It's literally falling in half. But it was interesting to kind of take this mindful observation practice and recognize my growth, because when I first got this, I wasn't practicing mindfulness. I wasn't where I am now mentally, right? And so noticing the coffee and my mind and my state of mind when this happened, and how I wasn't even able to remember that, I said I was going to clean it up, moving so fast. My mind is racing. I'm not, thinking clearly, and I'm just going. And now I'm at a point where it's like this mindful practice and journaling has truly helped to calm me and slow me down and get me to really pay attention to the things and people and experiences happening around me, right? And so mindful observation, just a fun practice to do, just to bring yourself to where you are at this present moment and not missing things that may be important or may trigger memories for you that could be good or not so great, but it helps you to recognize your growth and to just be where you are. So that was our mindful practice for today, mindful observation. Our main journal prompt today was all about managing holiday stress, right? So we kind of shifted a bit in our focus with how we answered the prompt, but how we are managing holiday stress. Thanksgiving is this week. Christmas is a few weeks away. New Year's, it just never stops, right? And so we have all of these holidays. I imagine many of you have also birthdays to celebrate in between, and work to get done before the new year, and so many things that are we're just watching our plates fill up. We're watching them fill up. And it's very important for us to take a step back and honestly plan how we are going to manage that stress, how we're going to manage all of the things that we may need to do, and how we're going to identify what can actually be taken off the plate. So the question here is, write about the strategies you plan to use to manage holiday stress this year. We're not focusing necessarily on what that stress is, but we're focusing really on how we're going to manage it. We're planning it. We're writing it down. We're, creating basically contracts with ourselves to say, this is not happening this year. I'm not going to people please. I'm going to rest. I'm going to say no to this, that, and the other, right? So some ideas for this journal prompt were, how are you going to manage your time? What boundaries are you setting? And then what self-care practices are you incorporating into your daily life or weekly life, depending on your schedule? What are you incorporating to help keep you from basically losing your mind during the holidays? So my response to this prompt was not people pleasing, doing what is best for my sanity and clarity. Mental clarity is huge for me. If I don't have that, then I'm all over the place. But if I can feel that my head is clear and I'm focused and I know what I have to do next, then I know that I can make the best decisions for myself and then the ones that depend on me as well. What else did I say? So, just planning ahead. Sometimes I am an artist at heart, and so planning and scheduling is not my strength. I really like to do things as I feel them, but with this time of year and with kids and with family and with work, it is important to take time to say, okay, let me just take a few minutes, an hour or so, and really plan out what my days ahead look like, what my weeks ahead look like, where I need to be, what I can say no to, and resting when I need it, and not necessarily when time allows, right? Because rest is necessary. It's important to operate from a place of rest, because when you are well rested, you can be productive and think clearly and make sure you're not missing things and letting others fall by the wayside, right? So just really operating from rest, planning ahead, taking that time to schedule, to figure out what can come off the plate. Reminding myself that I do not have to please everyone and that my health is what is honestly most important, because I cannot operate if I'm not well, right? And so those were some of the things that I plan to do to manage the stresses, to just really take account of, how often I'm trying to please someone else, planning ahead for my days that are coming, and allowing myself to say no and resting as often as possible. Every single mindful journal session, it ends in gratitude. I think that's very important, to end in gratitude, because we may come into a session feeling like chaos, feeling like overwhelmed, like there's so much happening, that there's so much that needs to get done. We come into that space and we don't really know what to do. We're just kind of bringing that along with us. And so we kind of release all of that through all of these prompts, get clear, find peace of mind, and then we end on a high note, which is in gratitude and really sitting in what we are thankful for and grateful for, which I think is very fitting for this week as Thanksgiving approaches. So we are closing in gratitude, and we have this for the prompt today. It was to just simply take a moment to reflect on the year so far. It's not over yet. So we're reflecting on the year so far, and we're writing down 3 things that we are most grateful for this year specifically, and why. And then I kind of gave an alternative prompt, so we all sometimes have a tough year. 2022 was kind of a tough year for me, and so I thought about instead, what I was looking forward to in the future year. So if gratitude is something hard for you to kind of sit with right now, and things just seem so chaotic and like there's nothing to be grateful for, which I'm sure is not true, but if it feels like that and it seems like that, the alternative prompt was, what are you looking forward to in 2024? What do you want to let go of? What do you want to release? What happened in 2023 that you just want to kind of let go of and not take into the new year? So we took a few moments and we reflected on gratitude or things that we were hopeful for in 2024. And my 3 things were just now being able to have a sense of stability. Entrepreneurship is not easy. It is very it's very difficult, sometimes very scary, because there is no stability. You don't know what your days are going to look like, your weeks, your months, your years. But this year was provided a sense of stability for me, and I really am appreciative and grateful for that. And then I also wrote that I was grateful for my husband, who has been with me for this journey, this entrepreneurship journey. And then I was grateful for being able to travel this year. This was the first year that we really got to get out and travel. And so my dad, he took us to Disney World, which was so cool. It wasn't really me. He took his grandkids, but I was there for the ride. It was fun. So we went to Disney, which was so much fun. And we got to go back home and celebrate a friend getting married, a longtime friend getting married. And then also just being able to visit family. So We got to travel quite a bit this year, which was fun. Well, not quite a bit, maybe like 2 or 3 times, which was nice. And just being able to just be physically present with our family and friends in different states was so fun and exciting. And it's something that I am definitely taking with me into 2024 as something that I'm grateful for. So that was our Mindful Journal Club session, and super excited to see where it goes in the future as we continue to have these sessions and new prompts come up and new people join. So remember to join the Mindful Journal Club. I'll put the link like here. If it's not there, it'll be in the description for sure. But be sure to join the club. It's free to join. We have journal sessions every Sunday, usually in the evening. The time will always be announced before we host the session. But there are weekly journal prompts, daily affirmation cards, journaling resources, community engagement. We are getting to be an active community with actual engagement and peeps, responding to questions and sharing their stories and why they've joined the club. And so it's a very new group, but we are super excited to continue growing, and we want you to join. So Mindful Journal Club is where we are. The link is somewhere in the description or on the screen. We'll figure it out later, but definitely join the club and be sure to hit subscribe so that you aren't missing any videos, any Mindful Journal Club recaps, and so on and so forth. So with that, I will leave you all and see you in the next video.